Hi guys and welcome to episode 36, I think it is, A Beat to the Punch, my first one of 2020. Riku, Brendan, how was your new year, guys?
New Year feels like a long time ago now.
Yeah, it really does, man. I was like, that was a long 3 weeks, and then you try to get back into it, you're like, right, we need to make space to get back on and get back into the routine. Brendan, how was your new year? You worked pretty much most of it, didn't you?
Yeah, I had like a day or two off. We don't get fun holiday breaks like you guys get. They hate us here. Capitalism, greed, and all that shit. No, I had a nice time, and new year, new me, same bullshit.
Yeah.
I think it was nice to have a bit of a break from boxing, but now I definitely missed a big time boxing because boxing Twitter was how boxing can be a car crash.
Yeah, man, and I mean, you do find yourself taking steps back for boxing Twitter when there's no big fights on the horizon, and that can also work the other way. Sometimes when there's big fights coming up, you can't stand the nonsense that flies about. But as I text Brendan the other day, and I couldn't believe that the Wilder Fury fight was on the 22nd of February, and I didn't even know. I was like, fuck, that's fluent. So I'm 6 weeks away. 6 weeks away for one of the biggest fights of the year, so I'm really looking forward to that. That should be quite good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my life is like fight calendars, so I know my life. I don't even count the months anymore. I just look at when the next big fight is, so that's the next milestone in my life.
But I'm actually already looking for friends, telling friends to keep the diary empty, and we'll all meet up at my house and, doing all that stuff. That's when you know it's a big fight. See, when you start making arrangements and plans to have people around, and then you end up, you don't even watch the fucking fight. You end up just talking shit, Yeah,
it's a long time drinking, isn't it? It's many, many hours of drinking when you have to stay up for 5 a.m. Vegas fight.
Yeah. What were you saying there, Brendan? You got to say something?
No, I was going to say, yeah, you guys, I remember one any motherfucker in my house for a 5 a.m. fight. Go home, get out.
But Natalie doesn't know. My wife doesn't know that I'm doing this shit, but she'll be fine with it. I'll wait till everybody shows up at the door and then I'll tell her.
Why is the doorbell ringing at 1 a.m.?
There's not been a lot of action to talk about. There's not really been a lot happening in boxing. We had a little bit happening over New Year with Gervonta Davis against Gamboa and stuff like that. But you know what? It's that far in the past now that it would have been covered to death on other podcasts. So we'll just start with this weekend. And we'll start off with Jaime Mungia and versus Spiker Sullivan. This was Mungia's debut at 160, I believe, £160. It put on an entertaining display, but how do you rate his performance, Brendan?
Well, it's just like par for the course with him. Obviously, he's not a good boxer. He doesn't really move his head. So, it's a Jaime, or however you want to say it, Mungia performance. Like, I think that's as good as he's going to be. When he finds someone who can really punch and box a little bit, he's going to be in big trouble. So I'd give him, 6 out of 10.
Riku, what is your views on this lad? Because, he's getting the kind of, he's getting the golden boy treatment, you know what I mean? And they're bringing him along quite nice. But, do you see him improving fight by fight, or is he still making the same mistakes?
I think he switched for Eric Morales. I'm not sure whether Morales has trained any other fighters at that level before, so he's got a new trainer, obviously. I think part of the reason why there's hype is because he's a young Mexican fighter like Canelo. They had a lot of wins, knockouts, so it's quite exciting. Also, Golden Boy don't have many fighters so that they can hype, so he's a guy to hype. I personally don't think that he should have left light middleweight or super welterweight, that division, and gone up to middleweight, because I think he's giving away a lot of his advantages of being a big guy that beats opponents down. And I think if he would have been able to get Spike Sullivan out of there quicker, it would have been more of a statement. But maybe his power doesn't really carry over to this division. So I think he's a work in progress. And we shouldn't forget that he lost to Dennis Hogan a few fights ago, but he was given a decision. So I think what they're trying to do is build a Mexican star, and who knows, maybe match him with Canelo in a year's time or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to admit, when I watched this fight, I really enjoyed it. You know, that's one thing with Mungia is, you know, even though he should have went in there and really dealt with Spike a lot better than what he did. You know, Spike's got a few losses in his career now. He's 35-year-old. You know, he's coming to the end. I think somebody like Mungia should have been dealing with Spike O'Sullivan better, but I think he's one of these people. He'll fight. He'll go in there for a tear-up, and if you go in for a tear-up, you're giving your opponent every opportunity to beat you. You know what I mean? And I think that's what happened against Hogan as well. He went in there and tried to go for this tear-up, and Hogan beat him. You know what I mean? Beat him fair and square, and get done on the cards. Now, there was a point in this fight where it looked as if Mungia was just about to go after Spike caught him with, I think it was a lovely right hook. It looked to me like his leg stiffened up, and he may have been saved by the bell. Did any of you see that?
Yes. I think he caught him well there. Spike O'Sullivan has always had that one-shot power, and that's always been his chance in every fight. I think it was in the Eubank Junior fight, it was the same, but after that, I don't think there was much coming back, and Mungia grew in confidence and beat down Spike O'Sullivan.
Brendan, where do you think this lad's ceiling is? Do you think he's good enough to pick a title up at middleweight? Because I mean, we've still got a lot of good operators in the middleweight division.
Not currently. I don't see. I think you're going to see him. Yeah, see him more moved in a direction like this. Maybe like a step up above a Spike O'Sullivan next. I'm sure you want to angle him for a title eventually, but I can't see him taking a belt off anyone who has one currently. Just doesn't seem realistic.
What about the way this boy's been brought along? I kind of touched on it a wee minute ago. The Golden Boy deserve credit because it seems like they're kind of making a star of this lad, but you know he's maybe he's probably got a bigger reputation than what his skills deserve. Is that fair to say?
I think he kind of he fell into that world title kind of by accident. Wasn't he like a late replacement on a card, and he drilled the guy and ended up picking up a belt as a 20-year-old. So and I guess he's been learning on the job, so to speak, at a championship level. So he needs more. I think he just needs more seasoning. For me, at least.
Who was it that he beat? I can't. Who was it? Was it? Oh man, he's got a funny name.
Saddam Ali.
Aye, that's who it was. Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think you're right, Brenda. I don't think he was actually meant to win that title, but he went in there and just upset the apple cart. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Saddam Ali had just beaten Cotto, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he got, it's a Brooklyn fighter from over here. And his reign was very short-lived.
Sorry, Riku, on you go.
No, I was just going to say that I don't think he's backing away from any challenges, though, because you remember when Triple G was looking for an opponent and he volunteered, and he then, I think it was one of the governing bodies, didn't allow him to fight for the belts, for Triple G's belts, because he wasn't ranked as a 160 fighter. But, it shows that he's willing to step up and take up opportunities that he was in the... he made it very clear that he was willing to fight Triple G a year ago or so.
Yeah,
that's the standard, pretty much Mexican fighter. I don't want to generalize the race too much, but I feel, at that point in your career, I don't think a loss would have hurt him that bad either. You had the belt at 154, you take the step up, you get a nice payday. When you're 21 years old, you can bounce back. Even if you lose, it would have been a good opportunity for him.
Yeah. What about Spike O'Sullivan here? I mean, Spike's a good gatekeeper, fringe world level kind of guy, but I mean, that's a few beating Spike's took now. Do you think it's time for him to maybe hang them up, Riku?
I was thinking this after his loss, and I think for a guy that hasn't won many big fights, he's won a few where, and I think he's in his mid-30s anyways. I think he can hang up his head high, and he's been a respectable career, and he's fought against some good fighters from Billy Joe Saunders to Mungia to Chris Eubank Jr. So I don't think another title run would necessarily make any sense. And I know from his Twitter He's got a young family as well, and he's a family man, and he's quite close to Packy Collins and those guys there in Ireland. So he might become a trainer or stay involved with the sport some way. So I think it's a good time for him to hang up his gloves.
Yeah, I mean, you did just drop out there. I don't know if the recording studio's got to pick it up, but I just seen it freezing. So my apologies if anybody's if the sound goes a bit crazy there. I'll try and look back over it before I put it out. But there's nothing I can do when the computer decides to drop out.
In summary, he's had a good career. He's he's got a young family. He's fought against good fighters and lost. Another world title one isn't necessarily in his mid-30s, isn't the best of ideas. I don't think he's either the kind of guy that wants to become an opponent, so I don't see there being much point in him continuing.
Yeah, that was my thoughts as well. I mean, he's took a few beatings now, and he's probably made more money for boxing than he probably ever thought, because I mean, he was based over in America for a bit. I'm sure it was only last year, like year before, he actually was signed to Golden Boy, and he was doing shows in Boston and things like that, from what I remember. So he's probably made a bit more cash than he actually thought he was going to when he started as professional.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I wouldn't have a problem if. I agree with you guys. I think maybe that's enough. It's always hard for these guys to make that decision. Maybe, but he would be relegated to opponent status. You don't want to see a guy like that who fights mostly with his heart getting hammered away by young guys. So maybe if he wanted to have like a homecoming fight in Cork or Dublin or wherever, and maybe find him someone like someone of his caliber, and he can retire on that. That would be nice.
Come back to Mungia here. I mean, the heavyweight division's about to get another crop. Light middleweights. 154 pounders. You've got Jarrett Hurd and guys like that are getting ready to move up. Maybe even see J-Rock moving up. Do you think Mungia could become a gatekeeper? I mean, thinking about it, it could be very plausible that this former world champion is just not going to have it at £160.
I mean, yeah, definitely a possibility. The guys you named, unfortunately, are all on the other side of the road, so hard fights to make anyway. I don't know if I wouldn't give him a gatekeeper status already. I still see him as like a prospect, even though he's a former world title holder, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
He's only 23. He's only 23, so he's got a lot to learn. Most people don't even turn pro by that stage, so it's a bit like Canelo before he fought Mayweather. He was a very talented guy, more so probably than Mungia, but he was quite raw, and he had a tough fight against Trout and Lara, where he got, in the Lara fight, he got a close win. So I think if Mungia trains well and, he's guided by the right people and he's matched well, which Golden Boy have done with Canelo, he could still have a long career, and he could make a name for himself. Maybe the 160 step up is quite big, but then again, guys like Andrade, Triple G, a few others, they're getting towards the end of their road on their careers. So they're in their 30s. So Mungia's got 10 years on the likes of Derbychenko and these guys.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have got anything else to say about this fight before I move on to the next topic, which is Clasrissa Shields. You've got anything else to say on this?
No.
On Friday night, we had Clasrissa Shields taking on Ivana I think it's Habazin. I think that's how you say her name. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in women's boxing, but Clasrissa Shields is somebody that kind of splits opinion down the middle, but when you see her in the ring against these other women, there's no doubting that she is a couple of classes above anybody else. But how good do you think that she is? Do you think that Clasrissa Shields is that good, or is it there's just no depth of opponents for her? Will we ever really find out? I'll go with Riku first with this one.
Yeah, I don't think there's, at the moment, the depth of opponents, as you mentioned. Partly because female boxing is relatively new in the Olympics, and in general, it's become more popular in multiple countries. So you don't have that many female boxers that have come through. She's quite young herself in terms of her age, so I don't think she'll get proper challenges in the next 4 years because there just isn't that depth. And I think that leads me to the point that I was talking in the chat, which was I get why they're pushing this narrative that she's broken Lomachenko's record and, you know, she's the fastest world champion ever, but you can't really compare male boxing and female boxing because of the depth of the talent pool. So Lomachenko has 4 legit world champions that have reigned for a long time, that everybody knows that are competitive, whereas Clasrissa Shields, she's fighting against people I've never heard of that probably aren't even professional boxers. People have day jobs, people that aren't backed like she's in the sports. So she's fighting as a proper professional athlete, whereas her opponents are often part-time fighters or just fighting every so often when there's a meaningful fight. So I think she's operating in a sphere which is completely different to all of her opponents and most of women's boxing, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, when I'm watching people like Shields and I'm watching Katie Taylor, you can tell right away that they're a different level for their opponents. Maybe, obviously, the Pursoon fight with Taylor was different, but usually when you watch them, it's like the Shields and Taylor kind of box more like men. I don't know if that makes sense, you know, they kind of box more, their stance is more like a man, and, you know, the kind of, the way they punch, you see a lot in women's boxing, a lot of big, you know, swings, and, you know, they're no, like, cultured punches, whereas when you watch Taylor and Shields, it's kind of like they've got it drilled into them and they're boxing the same way as what you see in the men's. So see when they come up against these other women who just aren't on that level, you know, some of these women are fighting kind of like, you know, that style you would see, it's like watching it's like watching a journeyman, you know, but they're in a world title fight, but it's like we would see it in a small hall, York Hall, you know, some guy that's got 30 odd losses, that's the kind of punches you expect him to see, like one hit, one big swing and then curl up in the ball, and that seems to me what women's boxing is, and that's why I just can't take it. Like, there's no competitive fights, you know who's going to win a women's boxing match pretty much before, as soon as it's announced, and so there's no excitement in it. I don't think the lack of competitiveness just it completely turns me off. But Brendan, there was some guy for I don't even know who this guy is. He was like an MMA correspondent or something like that. And he was saying Clasrissa Shields gets so much hate due to there being so many racists out there, and you know, it was kind of racist to hate one, and it was nothing to do with her being a dick. Where do you stand on that?
I mean, he was saying, I know the guy you're talking about. He's like bottoms of the barrel, and then, you know, I feel like me being calling myself a fucking journalist. He's saying like he's saying UK boxing Twitter and white Americans won't like Clasrissa Shields because they're racist. I think is what he was like going. This point he was making. I don't know. Like, she drives like a lot of people crazy with this greatest woman of all time shit. Her brother beating the shit out of James Bashir, but not being apologetic for it. I don't know. She seems kind of like a dick, but you know, a lot of these high-level athletes are dicks. So if you don't like someone because they're a dick, you don't like them because they're a dick, not because you're a racist. But yeah, I honestly could give a shit less about Clasrissa Shields or like really women's boxing in general. It's just because it's just not for me.
I mean, I watched
that guy's the guy that used to be on The Boxing Voice. He used to be a correspondent on that before, but I think he's kicked out. But anyways, he seems to goad people on Twitter.
How much an arsehole do you need to be to get banned, and it proper stressed me out? You know what I mean? I was like, just lucky I was in one of the best places in the world to kind of fucking bring me back down. I was like, what a load of shite, and it proper stressed me out. You know what I mean? I was like, just lucky I was in one of the best places in the world kind of fucking bring me back down. I was like, what a load of shit that was.
I guess that was a goal.
But yeah, it was crazy. But I mean, just to touch on that, I mean, I watched Clasrissa Shields in the press conference. I don't know why, because I fucking hate women's boxing. But I was like, okay, it's on TV, so I'll watch it. And fuck me, she's sitting there calling this lassie an idiot and fucking all the rest of it and screaming at the top of her voice. And I was just thinking, if I saw you in the street, I would class you as a smackhead. And you know what I mean? I was like, see, when I see smackheads doing that in the town centre, I don't go like that. Or I better not hate them, because people fucking say that I'm racist against fucking smackheads. It's just because you're annoying and you're making yourself look like a fucking pure tit. And as it goes for racism, I mean, I was thinking about this today. Pretty much the only white boxer that I love is Canelo. It's like the rest of them, my favourite boxers are all black. So I must be like the weirdest. I must be like the weirdest racist ever.
Yeah, Clasrissa Shields robs people up the wrong way, and I get why people don't like her. She's got an interesting story though, and I don't think she's done any favours with the whole how she conducted herself in the whole incident when her brother attacked James Ali Bashir, and also I think people are put off by the hype machine that is behind her, and Showtime, what they do for her. And I get why Showtime are doing it, and I get what they're trying to do, but until there's a competitive fight where we actually believe that she can lose, I'm not particularly interested. Yeah, that's it.
Bring Ann Wolf out of retirement, have her 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Well, I did watch this fight. I watched this fight, and I thought she was good. I mean, this lassie that came in, she was quite big. She was, she didn't really have any finesse or any skill or that, but Shields kind of just picked her apart, and she did what a good boxer should do. So I actually enjoyed watching her, if you know what I mean. But there was never a point in that fight where she looked as if that she was ever going to be in any trouble. And I think that's going to be Shields' problem for her trying to get the respect, because I don't think we'll ever got to find out exactly how good she is, because I don't think there's anybody that can take her into deep water.
There's the problem. The problem is, I feel like fighters like her, Katie Taylor, and Amanda Serrano from over here, they've been fighting boxing their whole lives, and most of these other women, they're more like athletes turned boxers later on, because it might be an avenue to make some money in it. But it's like, I didn't start trying to play basketball at like 18 or 19 years old just because I'm a decent athlete. If you're fighting someone who's been fighting their whole lives, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, saying that, guys like Wilder and others take up boxing quite late, but these are naturally super gifted athletes. I think the big problem with female boxing is that there's more money in the amateurs in most countries, and there's more intrigue in doing that. So the level of competition in the amateurs in females is probably higher than it is in professional boxing, and that means and also you can get more sponsor, more steady income. The women in the EIS get taken care of a lot better than, I would say, the average female boxer in the UK, unless they sign with one of the big promoters or someone like Chantal Cameron for MTK. Otherwise, they're doing a full-time job of boxing on the side.
I think Showtime's trying to give her that like Ronda Rousey push that the UFC and Strikeforce had given her, and have her just beat people into people caring. But like you said, the competition isn't there, and it's just not my not my thing.
Without knockouts, you're not beating anybody in an interesting way. And I think with the 2-minute rounds, big gloves, all that stuff, it's just very hard to knock anybody out in female boxing, and that's to a detriment of the sport. But then I think it's for health reasons you have all of this stuff.
Yeah, those decisions. You need her to go on a run and knocking people out to get really the public to talk about her in this, especially in this country where boxing's so niche to begin with.
Do you think that when Showtime are pulling graphics up and putting Lomachenko's name there and pretty much making a case to compare Shields and Lomachenko's achievements, do you think that has the opposite effect on a lot of people? Do you think that maybe, like, rather than like promoter, do you think that'll have more people tearing her down? You know, like, kind of shitting on her achievement?
Definitely, probably in like the hardcore realm of fans, everyone knows that's a fucking joke as soon as you look at the resumes. But I guess if you're trying to get like your regular Showtime subscriber to tune into a fight or keep your boxing program going, you need a star, and that's the way they're going to choose to try and build her up.
Yeah, but even if you think about female tennis, for example, at no point were the ATP marketing that Serena Williams is better than Roger Federer or Djokovic. It's not seen as a like-for-like comparison. Or they weren't saying the world's best tennis player, Serena Williams, was better than Djokovic. And I think that's often the challenge if you want to put two products of entertainment, put them against each other and say that this person's better than the other person, because we should just appreciate female boxing for what it is rather than try and compare it to male boxing, because otherwise we wouldn't have female boxing, male boxing. There would just be boxing and everybody just fights against each other.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to female football players because Scotland's women's team's pretty much better than the men's football team. They get to World Cups and that, but I mean, I've listened to women for that, and it's like, see, a lot of guys can't watch women's football because naturally as human beings we compare both sports. And I heard one of the women, she was on a radio show that I listened to, and she was saying, look at it as its own sport, look at it as a completely different sport. And I've started doing that with a lot of things, and it's like, when you do that, I think you can enjoy it a bit more. I think if you look at women's boxing as a different sport from men's boxing, the same way as like men's tennis, although they're playing the same sport, men's tennis is different for women's tennis. And if anything, probably women's tennis is better to watch. Probably the same with sports like hockey. I mean, I've always preferred watching women's hockey, and it's not that I'm a pervert, it's because I think that the women are better. But I think if you look at them as different sports, then it's easier to enjoy them.
Yeah, athletics is a great example, because in athletics nobody ever goes, oh, women's high jump is better than men's high jump. You just appreciate high jump, long jump, 100 meters, 200 meters, 400 meters. And you're talking about how great the athletes are and looking at the times and their performances in their own categories rather than looking at them. Well, you're not going to say Bolt runs 2 seconds quicker than the fastest female in the world. So all the female 100-meter runners, I'm not going to watch that. You're just looking at the field.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, and I have heard some chat about Shields that saying that women's boxing should be getting equal pay to the men's boxing, which, I mean, you can't make a valid argument for that. I mean, let's just put it this way: men box for 3 rounds right away, so. Men box for 3 rounds and 3 minute rounds. And women box for 2 minute rounds for 10 rounds. Men do 12. Yeah. So
that's because they got to get home and make the dinner, for the main fight. So. I'm joking.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when equal pay get brought into Wimbledon, and so the winner of the men's get the same pay as the winner of the women's. But I was like, but women play less set than men, so really women get a pay rise, so it's men that now get paid less. And the guys have to work harder for the money than what the women do.
Those tennis fucks are all getting paid a shit ton of money. So fucking well.
Yeah, and I also think in boxing it's pure economics, because journeymen don't get paid a lot. Actually, journeymen get paid all right, but undercard fighters don't get paid a lot. It goes down to ticket sales. If there's a female boxer that sells a lot of tickets, draws a huge audience, they will get paid well, and that's the reality of it. I mean, boxing is pure economics. There's nothing to do with a promoter deciding to pay a male fighter more. It's not. Promoters don't do anything out of their good heart or will. They'll pay you what you're worth, and you have to negotiate better. But there isn't anything. There's no malice involved in paying female fighters less.
Do we think?
The boxing promoters are trying to screw everyone over. Exactly. Male, female. They want to make the most buck off your blood, sweat, and tears anyway.
Do we think that maybe after the next Olympics we will get another batch?
In the UK, you have Sandy Ryan, who's good. You've got Lauren Price, Carissa. What's it? I can't remember what her surname is. So you've got a few young women in the UK that are doing well, and they've been training in the EIS on the pro setup for the last 2-3 years, and they all gear in towards the Olympics this year. So I could see them all turning pro, and you have female boxers that are have been training professionally effectively for the last 3-4 years. So that just means the quality of female boxing goes up. And when you add the likes of Hannah Ranking, Chantal Cameron, and others here, you actually have a decent female boxing scene around certain weight classes. But the challenge is trying to get that globally. In the US, you probably have a few, but countries like Mexico or countries like Thailand or other countries where they just don't have the same funding for the Olympic programs, it becomes more complicated to try and get boxers off the same standard. So you have English and American ladies beating up ladies from these other countries effectively.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that does annoy me with here in Britain is that, I mean, Chantel Cameron and Katie Taylor are the same weight, and yet nobody talks about them ever fighting. And and you go, well, how can the sport possibly grow if you guys only get in there and making domestic fights and getting the sport something to build off the back of? So I think there's times where there's got to be people take a bit of responsibility as well.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, the only woman I really see over here besides Clasrissa Shields is she's always on the Top Rank, has her on fights. Bob signed her. She won like a bronze medal. Michaela Myers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
She's a big, tall, she's tall and thin. Yeah.
Yeah, you have Savannah Marshall against Clasrissa Shields. That's a fight that we all want to see.
Yeah, it's the only person that ever beat her, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense to make something like that. Try and make a big spectacle. I don't know if they're trying to build the sport or whatever, but like I said before, I really don't follow much of it. People just don't like her.
I'll tell you what,
people like her in general because of who she is, not because of anything else.
For a bunch of chauvinists that don't like women's boxing, we haven't half spoke a load of shite about it for the last 15 minutes. Right, let's get back onto the men's stuff and the real boxing. Jesse Hart was fighting Joe Smith Jr. Joe Smith got a split decision, but I haven't seen this fight. But from what I've heard, Jesse Hart, you couldn't have maybe gave him 2 rounds, maybe 3. So how did this end up a split decision? I'll go with Brendan.
Yeah, I watched this. It was right after the Ravens got beat on the NFL playoffs. Transitioned seamlessly to ESPN to watch little boxing, and I don't know. Jesse Hart right after the fight said no excuses, but he hurt his hand. Whatever, Jesse Hart. I mean, could from the way it saw, he could have been in there with a fucking bat. It wouldn't have mattered. I had that fight like 90, 99, 91, 98, 92. That's the most you could have gave him. Joe Smith just kind of it was sloppy, a little ugly affair, but Joe Smith beat him handily. There's nothing to watch. I wouldn't even watch it back. It's not even high entertainment.
But it comes to Joe Smith, he's a hard-working, blue-collar guy. I've kind of always had a soft spot for him. Where do you think he goes for here, Riku?
There's talk about him fighting against Anthony Yard for a vacant title. I think which title could it be? Is it WBO?
I think it's a WBO. Yeah, it's WBO, yeah.
Yeah, so there's talk about that. I'm sure they'll match him against someone in a world title fight because I don't think he's signed with any big promoters, so there's a good chance.
He's with, I think, Star Boxings. It's over here in Long Island. Joel De Liguati, I think, runs that. So he'll go whatever the money is, I assume.
Exactly. I think there's good opportunities, or who knows? I mean, it doesn't look like Beterbiev against Ben Longmen or whatever that Chinese guy's called. It's not going to happen in China anymore, so Beterbiev's fighting against him, but he might vacate, and I'm sure he'll get a world title shot next, and he'll give it a go, but he'll probably end up losing if I'm being honest.
Well, I mean, I was heard about that Joe Smith Jr. Anthony Yard fight, and I love that fight. I think that's a cracking fight, and I'm not 100% sure that Yard wins that fight. I don't know, I think that there's a good chance he might get bullied. I mean, don't get me wrong, Joe Smith Jr.'s not got any real skill of that, but he's a big hard boy, he's a tough guy, and I think that he might just impose himself on somebody like Yard who's maybe a bit too small for him.
I like that fight. I like that matchup. I like that matchup a lot.
Yeah, and that's a fight that Yard really needs, because Yard could build off the back of that, I mean, I know he went over to Russia to fight Kovalev, but I mean, that's a great fight to push on for there, and it's a realistic chance of getting his hands on a world title.
I think he probably wins. I like Joe Smith. He's from here. Like you said, the guy still works a full-time job, but I think Yard could beat him, but I think it's a great matchup, and I'd be interested in definitely seeing that get made.
But what's your views on that, Riku? Do you think Frank will fork out to get Joe Smith over?
Possibly, but I think that would make sense. But again, it comes down to how Frank can negotiate with the Warren Boxing Organization and get Yard another title fight after losing one. So maybe they need to get Yard out quickly for a fight against somebody in the rankings to push him up, and then they could hopefully get the vacant title shot.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they can give him the vacant title shot if he's coming off a loss.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't surprise you though with the WBO and Frank Warren. I mean, there's some shady shit went on between them before. I think Frank Warren and the WBO are what Top Rank in the WBO are. I mean, I was listening to another pod and it says there's a title over there that's not been out of Top Ranks. It's not been with a Top Rank fighter for nearly 10 years. It just passes from Top Rank fighter to Top Rank fighter. So I wouldn't be surprised if some tomfoolery goes on and Yard ends up getting through in anyway, because at the end of the day it's all money, isn't it?
It is.
What about Jesse Hart? I mean, it's again another loss. I mean, what do you see next for him? Do you think that he's actually still interested in boxing? Go, Brendan.
I don't know. I mean, Jesse Hart he's like a journeyman fighter, I guess, at this point. I mean, who's going to avenge B-Hop's loss to Philadelphia? You have no business inserting your name anywhere near Bernard Hopkins' name, Jesse Hart. I don't know. Not really. I could care less if I see him again or I don't see him. I hate the guys who do that bullshit. No excuses, but, I hurt my hand 2 weeks ago, but I still took the fight. Go fuck yourself, pal. Then, you know what I mean? Fuck off.
Yeah, I don't think he was more focused on the narrative of the fight than actually on the fight, to be honest. And he shouldn't have moved up. I don't think Jesse Hart is big enough for that weight class anyways.
Yeah. Let's just push on a bit now. I don't really want to talk about Jesse Hart and Joe Smith Jr. for too long, you know what I mean?
I like Joe Smith. He's like, he's a blue collar, he's a regular fucking guy, so I don't mind giving him some time,
I remember when Joe Smith beat Bernard Hopkins and he was away, I think that was on the Saturday, and he was at work, he works on the roads, I think, or he works in construction, and he showed you him on site with his belt on, with his high visibility vests and all that on, but he's sitting there with his WBC belt on, and it was... so that always made me like him. I always respected that.
I'll never forget that fight because Bernard Hopkins walked in that fight. So he entered the ring. Frank Sinatra's I Did My Way, but the singer that he had singing it said I Did Bernard's Way in the lyrics. It was just strange. I Did Bernard's Way.
That was a big win for him. But like you said, he's with a small promoter. I feel like if he was with someone better, they would have, got him some more money, some bigger fights instead of, dropping the title right away.
The big news is for the UK this week isn't actually about any fights being announced, but it's about Josh Taylor signing up with Top Rank, MTK and Top Rank. That's a great move for Josh Taylor, but it looks as if there's a lot of court battles and stuff like that on the horizon for him, doesn't it?
The MTK lawyers are very persuasive, so I'm sure they'll be able to come to an arrangement with Basil McGuigan. But the part that I'm most sort of sad about is Shane McGuigan, because he's an excellent trainer and he's lost Frampton, he's lost he's lost Lee McGregor as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Lee McGregor, and also he's lost now Josh Taylor. So he's lost all of these kids in Lee McGregor and Josh Taylor, guys that he's worked with since they turned pro. So he's lost his stable effectively just because of Cyclone-related issues. But it doesn't come to anybody as a surprise that Josh Taylor's left Cyclone.
Now, everybody gets on Chris Eubank Senior's back saying about he's detrimental to his son's career. But just how detrimental to Shane McGuigan's career has been associated with Cyclone? Because, I mean, I think he's left with one fighter now, and that's Chris Billum Smith. And that's gone for a superb stable of Frampton. He did have George Groves, but he's retired. He's lost Taylor. He's sitting at his left.
He's got Coley.
He's what?
O'Coley.
Oh, there's a Coley fight there as well. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but he's not. But he's obviously a Cyclone fighter. But he's trained by Shane McGuigan.
Yeah, but I mean, it's quite sad to see it, and as I said again, it looks as if things are going to go better, and go through like a court battle. So I mean, it doesn't look good. Do you think that there's a chance that after reading Cyclone's statement on this, they're really not happy about this, and they believe Josh is under contract. Do you think there's any chance that we're going to see another Ricky Burns going to Matchroom kind of scenario where, Ricky ended up out of pocket?
I don't think you're going to see that in this case. Not with, he's with Top Rank, and Bob always seems to sort of win these sort of things, whether you're trying to take his fighters or you're trying to sign his fighters. And then he has MTK as well. They're just going to be severely outlawyered and as well as outmoneyed. So I'm sure he'll be fine. They'll probably, negotiate. If they're owed anything, then negotiate points on a fight, and you can have your fucking $100,000 and go fuck off. Something along those lines.
What about, is this the end of Cyclone? Do you think Cyclone could come back for this, Riku?
No, I mean, they even lost Martin Bukola, didn't they? So they don't have any fighters, and after the court battles and the way how Frampton celebrating, Josh Taylor joining and leaving, and Paddy Barnes and everybody else, I mean, if you're fighting, you're signing with Cyclone, it's quite suicidal, to be honest. If you look at how critical people in boxing are about Cyclone, I can't see anybody wanting to sign with them or working with them anyways.
I mean,
especially the Frampton thing. Like, I know guys leave, take more money else, they fuck their contracts, but he seems like a guy I respect. I think he's like a high moral perpetuity. I don't know. He just seemed like deeply insulted and hurt by what the fucking Barry had done to him. But the guy seems like quite a bit of a shyster. He loses everyone decent that comes to sign with him. So, well, who the hell is going to fucking sign with him now? He has no TV deal, no nothing.
Yeah, and you know what? It couldn't have happened to a nicer person. He's a prick.
Yeah, fuck him.
Exactly.
And just to finish up, guys, this was something you put in, Riku. It was to pick a fighter to win a title and a fighter to lose a title in the next 12 months. So that's a good one. I've been racking my brain all day about this. So we'll start off with you, Riku, since it's your question. Who are you picking?
I think Andrade is going to lose his title. He's either going to fight against someone half decent and lose it, or then I think he's going to slip up against somebody that's not Luke Keeler, but someone else that he's going to fight against. I think Andrade is there for the taking, and my bet is that he loses the title. And then in terms of winning the title, I thought about this for a while, and I didn't want to go for guys that have fights scheduled, so I think Broxy will be manoeuvred to a position where he'll win the title, whether it's a vacant one. Maybe he'll get the WBO shot against Joe Smith Jr., and they're going to try and push him to build a pay-per-view star. Those are my And I think Barty has the talent as well to win that title. So those are my picks. Andrade to lose his title and Barty to win a title.
Brendan, if you get 2 picks for this.
2 picks to win a title. I'm going to go with just lost a close one in the World Boxing Super Series. So Regis Prograis. I'm not sure where they're going to line him up at 140 or 147, but he's a guy I could easily see picking up a belt this year. And not a big name. He just acquired this belt. But Patrick Teixeira, that thing he got to lose. So I'm sure they're going to Top Rank will line someone up where they want to get a belt and take it right off him.
Yeah, and my 2 picks are, I think a guy that's going to win a world title this year is going to be Lawrence Okolie, especially now that we've got a date for the World Boxing Super Series final, and it just seems as if options will be open towards the end of the year. I can see Okolie boring his way to a world title, and somebody's going to lose a title. I was thinking about this today, and I'm openly going to admit that I think it's just that I'm not a fan of the guy that I'm saying this, but I think Bivol. I think as soon as Bivol comes up against somebody decent, he's going to lose that title. I think I had a funny feeling that maybe Callum Smith would move up this year, and I think Callum Smith takes his title from him. But it could be me not being a fan of Bivol's title.
I hope anyone takes his fucking belt so we don't got to see him anymore.
Oh, he's fucking shit, man. He annoys me. After all that, after a lot of the big hype and all that he came with, and then now that we're watching a guy who just kind of boxes his way, boxes down, never looks to end a fight, doesn't want to, he doesn't want to have star appeal because he doesn't want to entertain us, so it just, stuff like that fucking pisses me off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I hear you 100%.
But unless there's anything else, boys, I'm happy to wrap it up there.
I'll give you 2 predictions for this year.
Yeah.
My predictions are BT Sport is going to leave boxing. I just think I can't see why they want to invest money in Frank Warren's shows, and he's not particularly been delivering for them. And my other prediction is that Tyson Fury will retire at the end of or before the end of the year.
Yeah, you know what?
Tyson Fury, if he loses to Wilder, I can't see why he would continue. Or maybe he'll have one more fight and retire, but I think Tyson Fury will retire from the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying this the other day. Already looks as if Tyson's starting to make his career, because I see he's in talks again with the WWE. It looks as if he's looking to become a WWE personality. So I think that, Tyson's already looking for a way out. I think, I genuinely believe it. And what he says about BT, I mean, I can't even believe that BT are still in the sport. I mean, how many BT shows did Frank Warren give us last year? Fucking, he must have been able to count them on one hand. It was a bit of a fucking dismal performance for Frank. So, to be honest with you, I can't see why BT would just keep hitting him with cash and no deliver.
We also had a question in last week when we were meant to do this from James Slapman on Twitter, J_Slapman, boxing guy, good guy. He asked, will Josh Warrington get his unification bout in Ellen Road? So I'll let you guys answer that.
I've seen Shakur been screaming that they're not paying him champion money, blah, blah, blah. I think they get that fight done. And I think, he'll lose his belt in in that filthy Leeds football stadium.
Steve?
I mean, I hope it does get done, because I think I would maybe go down to it. I don't know if I would go down to it, but to be honest with you, I don't really know enough about it. As far as I know, that they were near enough there, and that was about 2 or 3 months ago. I mean, that was maybe, probably in November that I heard that they were pretty much there, or thereabouts, and now it feels like it's just dragging on and it's just not happening. It would be a shame if Josh Warrington didn't get it, though, because I feel as if he's earned that big fight.
Yeah, I mean, he's fought against everyone. The win against Kid Galahad was dubious, to say the least. But yeah, I think he deserves a big fight, and the fight against Shakur Stevenson, if he could beat him, which I don't think he can. But if he could beat him, that would be one of the great British victories over the last 10 years.
And I'll tell you what, 1,000, so there must be money there. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised if BT then put it on as a pay-per-view. So, 1,000, so there must be money there. And actually, I wouldn't be surprised if BT then put it on as a pay-per-view. So I mean, when it comes to money...
Steve?
Yeah, sorry. It was a bloody computer dropped out again there. I was just saying, when it comes to money, surely to God, when you've got 35,000, 40,000 pretty much guaranteed sellout, I don't see how there can be a shortfall of money, especially when BT are probably put it in pay-per-view.
Yeah, not sure. I guess it's US TV money, isn't it? And showing one of the top-ranked stars like Lomachenko was here and, taking Shakur Stevenson there. I don't think it looks good for Top Rank for the ESPN contract either, showing that in the middle of the day.
Yeah, I know ESPN hasn't been super pleased with the numbers they got last year, but you know what? They're trying to build boxing back into the mainstream. I think it'll be okay there, not like a BT situation. But I don't see a problem with him going over there for a big fight and taking a belt home and be a good mark on Shakur's record. I don't know how long he'll be at 126. He's like a massive kid, so I think it's a tough night for fucking Josh Warrington, but that's what he wants. Hopefully we can give it to him.
Do you think that Josh would be open to maybe going to the States?
I just don't think that fight does anywhere near what it would do in England compared to here. They're gonna fight it. He's gonna fight him in Newark and Jersey in front of 6,000 people. I mean, you guys can come over.
I probably would. I think Josh Warrington has said that he's up for going to US and taking his travelling support there, because I think for him doing a Ricky Hatton type pilgrimage for with his fans would be something that he could achieve, and would be it would be very good to achieve, and it would be a great thing to do. And win or lose or draw, I think it would be a night to remember when he takes the Leeds fans over there for a big fight.
Yeah, but do we want the Leeds fans in New York? I don't know if we do. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I mean.
But I'll tell you my funniest thing this week what I've seen on boxing. Devin Haney, he got his. Was he a WBC belt that he got? No.
Yeah.
WBA belt.
Yeah, WBC, I think it was.
WBC, his email belt.
Yeah, he got his email belt, right? And he's injured. So they made him champion in recess.
Oh, yeah, I've fucking seen that.
Going to fight for the vacant title.
Yeah, I've seen that. He's not even defended it yet, has he?
Champion in recess.
We saw that belt be won on August 31st. We're going to have a third champion by the end of July, and no one's going to have lost. by the end of January, I'm sorry.
Oh man, but listen guys, I'm going to have a bit of editing to do with this, because for next week's podcast I'm going to have to get another recording program, because this kept dropping out tonight. So I'll apologise in advance, but I'm going to have to cut us off now, because I'm going to have to listen through the pod again, and any bits I do miss, I apologise to any of the listeners. I've tried my best and it will be fixed for next week. I will have a new programme for next week. But thanks again for coming on, guys. I really appreciate that. And I'll do my best with editing.
Subscribe, listeners, review and subscribe. Thank you. And sending questions on Twitter.
Yeah, man. That's it. Get us up the rankings, you know what I mean? Right, guys. Well, I'll see you guys later, and we'll get back on next week.
Sounds
Cheers,
good.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye.